Well, hello there. Welcome to our brand new technique of the month. Very happy you're here. This is going to be a fun kind of group of techniques of the month, I guess. But it's going to be very cool, I think. It's a little more advanced, but I think you're going to enjoy it, and tons of possibilities with what we're going to be working on this month. And it's really kind of a way to start thinking outside the box and even developing a kind of a personal style or a signature style. So there's lots and lots to cover this month. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. So welcome everybody. We have got all kinds of people here. Fantastic. We have got Carla and Lynn are here. Monique, of course, welcome. Let's see, who else has joined us? LC is here. Fantastic. Lily, hello. Great to see you. So Judy is also here. Fantastic. I am super excited. You are all here and raring to go. So I have created a couple different, I created one PDF, and I'm going to be showing you another PDF that you probably have access to already, but it can come in kind of helpful for what we're going to be doing this month. And what exactly are we going to be doing? We're going to be doing multi-technique pours, which basically means we're going to be combining two or more standard types of pouring techniques together to create a unique kind of a unique new technique built up off of two or more techniques that we've pretty much already covered. So there's lots and lots of ways to go about doing these multi-technique pours, and I'm going to be sharing with you an idea list as well as the technique tree that I've created. So to kind of get your inspiration flowing and start thinking outside the box with our acrylic paint pouring. And I like doing these multi-technique pours because they look different and you can do different things with them. It's not kind of the standard same thing everyone else is doing. You can really make your paintings look very unique. And if you kind of think about this and start practicing, kind of piecing together these different techniques, you can come up with a very cool, interesting style that will be distinct to you, and which will only help kind of propel you along in your art career. So right behind me here is a multi-technique pour. This one is it's kind of two simple techniques. It's a ring pour, or a straight pour, I should say. Straight pour and a flip cup. Two very kind of standard techniques, but they're combined together and it creates something quite unique and really different. This particular painting, I love the color scheme I have going on there. It got a little bit overstretched, but I still quite like the painting, and it kind of is a good example of what we're going to be doing, combining together different techniques that we've already worked on to create something new. So I don't really have a technique walkthrough sheet for you, but let's take a look at what I've put together. It's kind of a multi-technique idea list of ways you can start thinking about these different techniques, and kind of cool ways that you can kind of fit them together. And I also gave you some consistency ideas as well. So let's see here. Let me share my screen. I put it up on the screen. And let's do this. And that looks good. Let me go over here. Actually, let me zoom in here. If I can go over here. And let me make this a little bigger. There we go. Okay, so this is the multi-technique pouring ideas PDF. It's already waiting inside the Pouring Studio technique section of the membership. And so I give you a little blurb here about kind of what we're doing with this. And then I give you some ideas of different techniques you can combine together to create something new. And so right here is kind of the example I just showed you, a straight pour and a flip cup. And this is the consistencies you could use, 1, 2, or 3. Over here we have a waterfall pour and a flip and drag. That's exactly what I'm going to be doing for our demo tonight, to kind of give you an idea of what this is all about. So we'll be doing a waterfall flip and drag painting. And then I just kind of go down here, and there are some other ideas, and I've done some of these paintings, not all of them, but I've thought of all of them in the past. And we'll be working on a lot of these throughout the month. So I'll be doing demos for a lot of these various multi-technique pours. So here's a direct pour and a ribbon pour. I've actually done that before. That's a fun one. Multi-pour. It's like a multi-ring pour and a multi-flip cup. So we're using multiple cups on one painting. That would be good for a larger canvas, and that can be very cool. I've done a couple of those in the past. Direct pour and a ribbon pour, plus a swipe. We can add, two techniques, and then also modify those with some swiping if you wanted to, with either like a regular swipe, a reverse swipe, or we could even do a bloom swipe if we wish. Those are very fun, and you can get some really, really distinctive, cool paintings. A direct pour and a ribbon pour, and then a chain pull or a string pull to modify your paint. That can be very interesting. Double cup pour, and which is like a kiss pour, and a split cup doing a flip cup. So that can create a very unique effect, especially if you use negative space. You kind of build negative space into those. It can give you a very interesting graphic type of painting. A direct pour and a funnel pour, those are really fun to do. Floating cup and a cloud pour, that one we'll probably work on like next week in our demos. That's a fun one. Ribbon pour and a Dutch pour. So now we're and of course, I have consistencies for all of these. So we'd be pouring ribbons, we'd be layering cups or layering paint in our cup, pouring on a ribbon, beautiful ribbon shape, and then we can modify that with a blowout to get a much more distinct, interesting painting. So these are all just kind of the techniques we've already gone over, most of them. I think all of these we have gone over at one point or another. Funnel pour and the Dutch pour, kind of the same thing with a ribbon pour, only slightly different. Dutch pour and then a chain or string pull. This can give you some interesting effects. A pearl pour and a cloud pour. Now we're getting a little more advanced with these types of techniques, more advanced pouring formulas, and more interesting effects. And then direct pour and a bloom swipe, and those can be very fun. Now you can add bloom swipes to a lot of these different techniques. I didn't want to go on and on with 1,000 different ideas, so I just kind of picked these, which I think offer a lot of interesting things you can play with, and hopefully get your mind thinking about different ways you can utilize these techniques. I'd say start with techniques that you like first, and then you can think of what other techniques you could add in there. So that's kind of what we're going to be working on for this month, is just combining these different techniques together to create something new and different, and hopefully really, really cool. So that is the first PDF I have for you. And then I've also put in in that same section, the pouring technique tree. This is just kind of an overview of most of the techniques that I like to do, and so you can have it as a reference. Some of you might have this already. We went over this in our last kind of big live event, but just seeing a list of all the different techniques can give you a good, just can help kind of jog ideas and get your imagination sparking and interesting things happening. So, and by the way, if you don't remember or know exactly what all of these techniques are, I would recommend just going and revisiting the Pouring Studio technique section, and you can go watch the walkthroughs of any techniques that you're not quite familiar with. I think we've covered pretty much all of them. So if you're like, oh my gosh, what is that technique? You could just kind of give yourself a reminder of what those are. Most of you should probably be familiar with most of these techniques, but you can also go and check out the old videos, the old walkthroughs, just to see what they are again and refresh your memory on those. So, all right, so that is what we're going to be doing. Those references or resources are available for you. I'm going to remove that now. And so we're going to be working on a demo tonight. Again, a waterfall slash a flip and drag, which we just did. And I think those are gonna work well together. And we'll do a demo of those. And I've got my paints mixed up. And but now let's just talk about maybe some color ideas for this month that you can follow or not follow. I'm going to be doing this specific color. It's not really a color harmony so much as just a color idea, I guess. It is kind of a color harmony, I suppose. I got to take a sip of water. Excuse me. So I thought it'd be fun to work on some monochromatic color schemes this month. So I'm going to be working on a few of them. I'll probably mix in some other color schemes as well. But I mix up a monochromatic color scheme for tonight's demo, and I'm excited about it. I like monochromatic color schemes. You can use them with any different color you want, any color family, really. And they're fun to use because you can kind of stretch that color into doing multiple things. So what exactly is a monochromatic color scheme or color harmony? Well, mono means one, of course. So monochromatic is basically one color. But it doesn't mean just one color of like one tube of paint. It's one color family. So the demo tonight, I picked blue violet as my color family. So all of my colors are some form of a blue violet. And so what that means is I could take any blue violet I want. Most of my colors are custom mixed because there's not a lot of blue violets that are already pre-mixed out there. But let's just say I was going to use a blue. Well, you can use any type of blue you want. So you could use light blues, dark blues. You could custom make your own blues with adding white to them, adding silver to them, you could add a little bit of the complementary color to make a more neutralized blue. So you want to work with a range of blues and of course a range of values in blue. So I have got a range of values with my blue violet. I'll walk you through all those colors in a second. But it can I like to do monochromatic color schemes every now and then because first of all, they're all going to be harmonious. So regardless of how many different types of blues you have, they're all going to work together. You know, it's all going to be harmonious. You're not really going to get any mud. You're going to get different values, which is really, really good. You want a range of values from light to dark and then everything in the middle. But you could have more, and I'm going to, expand my color family to include slightly on the green side of blue and slightly on the violet side of blue. So you can have a range of blues. Any of those blue families, they'll work together as long as they're predominantly blue. Like turquoise, that's a little far outside of like blue for me, but blue that has a little bit of green in it would be just fine. So, but it will really get you to think about that color. You can kind of do a deep dive in that color family and learn a lot about colors you like. And so you can mix them with, I have blue violets mixed with whites. I've got blue violets mixed with silvers or golds. So I mixed up a bunch of different things, but you can really kind of see what you can get out of that color family. So it's fun to work and it just kind of expands your knowledge about one particular type of color. And so I love blue. I love violet. I like blue violet a lot, so that's the one I picked. But if you love yellows, if you love reds, you can do monochromatic reds. You can do any color family you wish can be monochromatic. So, and basically what a monochromatic, like the technical definition of a monochromatic is, let me read it for you. It happens to be right on your color wheel if you've looked in the past. But here's what it says. Monochromatic, using any tint tone or shade. So any color mixed with white, gray, or black is a tint, tone, or shade of just one color, or one color family. So that is the definition of monochromatic color scheme. They're fun to work with, and you get some very, very cool paintings out of just one color family. So that's what we're going to be doing tonight, and hopefully you'll give one of those a try. And it allows you to, again, really focus in on one color family that you like. I would recommend using colors you like, first of all, and not worrying too much about what goes with that color, or what's going to make that color muddy. You can really just focus on that one color, variations of that color, and then values, which are super, super important. So let's go ahead and I'll show you the colors I mixed up here. I'm going to move these out of the way. By the way, here are the PDFs. I didn't show you those, but let me pull these all over here. I'm all disorganized. So I'll open these up. And show you what I've got. And I've got a base coat. I'll just leave that covered for now. But let me flip the camera and we'll take a look at all the different colors. Okay. So here we go. Let me move my canvas up here. So I'm working on a 16 by 20 tonight. And here are all the colors. And so we've got up here a very light one, and it looks white, but it is actually a very light blue violet. It's mostly white, and I used a Craftsmart multi-purpose or multi-surface premium paint for this white. And so it's mostly white and just a little bit of Amsterdam blue-gray. They call it or grayish blue they call it, but it's actually a very pretty blue violet. So, I mean, it's just like a drop, like a very small drop of paint in there to get this very subtle blue violet, very light value. Next up, we've got these two that look very similar. One is a little lighter than the other one. This one is actually just our bluish gray or grayish blue from Amsterdam, which is a very pretty color. This one here is different, and this one is a custom mixture of violet from Artist Loft, cobalt blue from Liquitex Basics, and metallic white. So through those three colors all combined together to create this very pretty kind of lilac-y color, which is a lighter value, and it's a little bit more on the metallic side, which is cool. This one here is a kind of a deep blue violet. So this one is, again, our cobalt blue and our violet. And that was a little too intense for me. These other colors are a little bit more neutralized. So I added a bit of my base coat to that one. And my base coat is kind of just a warmish gray color. I'll show you that. So here's my base coat, which is kind of a mix of some different blues and a few different other things, but it's a kind of a pretty warm gray. So I just added some of this to my cobalt blue and my violet just to knock it down a little, knock that intensity down. It was a little too vibrant. So I just made that a little more neutralized by adding some of the base coat. I could have also added one of these colors. Like this color probably would have neutralized it, but it would also have raised the value a little bit. I wanted to keep it more on the darker side of the value scale. And then this one right here is Payne's Gray and Violet. And so that is our Payne's Gray and Violet color. And so it's like a nice dark, very deep value of a blue-violet value. or blue-violet color in a deep value. And also I had some gold. Now I put the gold into this one. So this was, again, I forgot about the gold. So this one was cobalt blue, violet, metallic white. But again, that was a little too bright, a little too saturated of a color, too vibrant. So I added a little gold, and gold happens to be the complement of violet, and that gave it this nice kind of grayed, more neutralized color. So I kind of knocked that down too. So a lot of custom mixing here. You don't have to do tons of custom mixing, but you do want a nice range of values. So that would involve some custom mixing, adding some whites, or adding some silver to kind of get more of a gray. You could actually add gray, and that would give you that tint. You could add black to colors, or just a darker version of your color. So there's all kinds of different ways to custom mix colors to work around getting different colors and values in your color family. So that's what we're going to be doing. And let's go ahead and talk about the technique itself. I'm going to move some of these paints out of the way. Give me 1 second here. And by the way, of course, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And let's see here. And Monique mentioned, this is a good point. I don't think we've done a ribbon pour walkthrough. You might be right. I don't know if we've focused solely on a ribbon pour, but we'll give that a shot. I know I've done them in some demos, but I don't know if we focused on that one technique. So maybe we'll do that one next week as one of our demos. Something with the ribbon pour, that would be fun. Also, I don't know if we've done the direct pour. I've done demos of those, but I don't know if we've done a whole month on the direct pour, which is a really fun one too. So let's see here. And Cinda said she's done a monochromatic ring pour in pinks, magentas. That sounds awesome. Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. Just different values of pinks or magentas. That would be a very cool one to do. You can make lighter magentas, which will turn into pinks, darker magentas. So all kinds of fun ways to explore those different colors. So, all right. So what we're going to do here with our waterfall flip and drag, I've got 2 cups. So the first thing we want to think about is how many techniques we're going to be combining, and then we need to think about our paint amounts. So since we're doing 2 or more techniques, in this case 2 techniques, we need to just divide our cups up into at least 2 cups, or sometimes 3 cups, depending on what you're doing. But I have a 5-ounce cup here and then a 6-ounce. And that's, 11 ounces is about what I'd need for a 16 by 20. And, we're going to have about 10 ounces is what I'd use for a standard straight pour or a standard waterfall pour. We're going to be using a slightly more than that because we're going to be doing kind of a half straight waterfall pour and then half of a flip and drag. So I'm going to go a slightly less with the waterfall pour though. So about 5 ounces, about 6 ounces for our flip and drag. And of course I've put my tape tab on there. And then you need to think, once you have your paint amounts kind of sorted out, we want to think about the process or order in which we're going to apply the paint to the canvas. So in this instance, since we're doing a waterfall pour, it gets slightly more complicated because we need to elevate our canvas up, of course, at an angle to pour our waterfall pour on there. So that would be the first step in the process. That would be the first technique to do, is the waterfall pour, because we have to elevate our canvas. Then once it's flat, we can do our flip and drag and add to our paint puddle. So you just want to think about the order in which you want to do these techniques. So in the instance of the straight pour and the flip cup I did behind me, I did the flip cup first, and then I poured my straight pour right into an area of that first flip cup puddle. And so I could kind of incorporate them a little better that way. So you want to think about the order of techniques that you're going to add to your canvas, and kind of how you want to go about combining these techniques together. So that's part of what makes this a little bit more difficult. You have to, kind of plan out these paintings a little bit more in advance. The other thing you want to do is if you're not going to be doing like a monochromatic color scheme, you want to think about your colors, and you want to think about how to incorporate them so both these techniques look like they belong together. We don't want to have like a ring pour with a bunch of reds and yellows, and then we have a flip cup with a bunch of blues and greens. That looks like two totally separate color schemes on the same canvas. It's not gonna, they're not gonna blend together very well. So we want to make sure, regardless of what techniques you choose, we want to get these techniques to look like they're incorporated together, so they kind of belong together. So that's another challenge with doing these multi-technique pours, but it's a fun challenge to undertake, and they're really, really fun to experiment with. So let's get going, and we'll do one of these multi-techniques right now. And I'm going to just spritz the back of my canvas here. And let's see here. And Carlos got a good question, and Cinda's asking, was wondering what a direct pour was, and we'll get into direct pours next week. But basically, a direct pour is where you're pouring paints right on your canvas. So an example would be you just take your colors and you just pour them right on your canvas, and then you do some tilting or manipulating those colors. And I've done demos of those in the past too. But yeah, that's what a direct pour is. At least that's the way I talk about direct pours. Some people might have different definitions of a direct pour. A dirty pour would be if you're going to be, and we're going to be kind of doing dirty pours here. Dirty pour is kind of a confusing term, but if you're doing a dirty pour, it means you're kind of layering your paints in a cup, and then you're pouring the cup on your canvas. You're not doing a straight pour or a ring pour, you're just kind of pouring it out. That's what I refer to as a dirty pour. It's a confusing term, so I don't like to use it too much. But a direct pour is where you're just pouring individual colors right on your canvas. That could also be referred to as a puddle pour in certain circumstances. So, but good question or good comment. And Carla is asking, do you stretch out the first technique before you do the second? That will depend, and but mostly no. We might expand it a little bit, but we're not going to fully stretch out the paint before we add our second technique. We want them to kind of merge together, commingle, kind of mingle together on our canvas. But that's a great question, and we're going to get into that right now. So let's go ahead and layer our cups first, and then we'll get into doing our technique. So this is my waterfall cup. So we're going to add our paints in here first. I'm going to add a little bit of our light color first. And since we are working with all these colors that are all very similar, I really want to pay attention to the values and the order my color order that I put into my cup. So I really want to mix up the values, put lighter values, darker values, middle values on top of each other when I'm thinking about that while I'm layering. And by the way, this is just the easy formula and the number 3 consistency again. It's a little bit thinner than I would normally do a waterfall pour with, but it's the consistency I want to do my flip and drag with. So you want to come up with a happy medium, and you still want to have kind of the same consistency of all your paints regardless of the techniques you're mixing together. We don't want to have real thick paint and then real thin paint on our canvas at once. So there's more of a medium value. I'll go back to my light. Maybe I'll go to my blue again there. Want another layer of my dark in here. And I think that's pretty much it. I'm going to end with that dark, just a touch more. And that is it for our waterfall cup. I'm going to put that aside, and then let's go to our flip and drag cup. And another thing you could think about when you're doing multi techniques, you can add, one, let's say I wanted to make my waterfall pour more light values, and then I could make my flip and drag a little bit more of the darker values. You can also do that. So you can break up your composition by having all of your lighter values, or most of your lighter values, in one cup or one technique, have darker values in another technique. I'd still want to probably intermix a couple of the same values in there just to make them a little more cohesive, but you can kind of separate your composition that way too. So it's just another thing to think about. I'm just kind of making these all the same colors in both cups, but the effects are going to be very different. So we'll have kind of these multiple rings with the waterfall pour, probably a lot of cells with our flip and drag. So colors will be similar, but the effects will be different. So you just want to kind of think about the effects, the colors, the values, all those things kind of combined. There's a lot to think about with like a multi-technique pour. So I'm still trying to think of, I'm thinking about, I want to go back to my dark, thinking about dark values, light values. I'm going to put this light right on top of the dark. And I go back to kind of this dark, beautiful blue-violet color. Maybe end with one of the more neutral colors or middle value colors, and then maybe a tiny bit more of our light here. And that should do it for our second cup. So we've got our cups layered up and they're ready to go. I'm going to scoot the paints over here. Pull my base coat over. And I'm not going to have any negative space in this painting. So we're going to tilt over the entire painting. Again, that's another thing you can think about is negative space. You can build it into your composition if you want to. And we'll get into some of those as well, a demo of kind of creating negative space too, but not in this one. So let's go ahead and put our base coat down. Again, this is just kind of a mixture of a few different colors. It's just kind of this neutral gray. We'll just spread that out. Here we go. A little bit heavy. I'll scrape a little bit of that up. That's better. All right. So with this pour, waterfall pour, I've got a lot going on. So I'm going to have to be thinking about where I want to pour this, where I want the paint to flow down my canvas. And then I'm going to be elevating the one end so the paint can run down. So here's my waterfall pour cup. I have to decide if I want to pour out of the side I layered or the opposite side. I think I'm going to go on the side I layered this time. And I'm going to torch this a little bit. I got some air bubbles. And I think what I want to do, I don't want to pour right down the center and have a big band down the center. I want to pour over to the side, but I also think I want to have it kind of going at an angle. So that makes it a little more challenging. Instead of just tilting it and holding it up like this, I also need to elevate one end. And so I'm going to get a cup as a little spacer and put it under there. I'm also going to flip the camera, give you a little better, actually no, maybe I'll keep it on the top camera. I had my little, oh here we go. So I got a little smallish cup here. I'm going to put that under this, under that side of the canvas. So when I'm tilting or lifting the canvas up and I pour the paint here, it's going to want to run at kind of an angle now down the canvas. Remember I showed you that you can do the marble test and that can kind of show you the direction of your paint. I'm just going to wing it here, and I think it's going to move in the kind of the direction I want. That should be enough of it. Yeah, that should be good. And I'm going to just hold this one. It's going to be a little tricky. And then I can lower it as my paint gets down to the bottom. I can kind of lower it back down. So let's give it a shot. And I'm going to lift with my left hand. And I'm going to pour with my right hand. Here we go. So it's moving in the direction I want, which is good. I like the angle. I'm going to just slow the paint down a little. I'm going to lower this end of the canvas a small amount. So far, so good. Getting down to the end of the cup here. Okay, so I'm going to just gently set this down. I'm going to grab my drip, pull that away. Now I can lift the canvas and kind of scooch my little cup out of the way. So that went pretty well. That's kind of exactly what I wanted. Kind of it's going at this angle. it's not right straight down the center. I wanted to have a off, a more unique composition. And now we're going to do our flip and drag and kind of bring it through as part of our waterfall pour. And then we'll do our tilting and kind of try to combine these together. Okay. So let's see here. Let me grab my second cup and get my cup flipper. And this one I'm gonna flip that over. I'm gonna drop it right here. And just give that a second. So we got some cells kind of happening, which is kind of cool. I like these kind of weird, I don't know exactly what those were, but the dark blue is kind of popping through there. But I kind of like that. We're going to get cells with our flip and drag. So that'll kind of tie the two together a little bit. So let's go ahead and pull our tape tab. And let's move our paint around. Then I'm going to kind of twist my cup as I turn it. Now we're going to alter, our shape here of our waterfall pour. And it's kind of flowing up in there. That's fine by me. I want them to kind of mingle and change each other. That'll kind of incorporate them together a little bit more. So there is all my paint. And I like it, so I'm going to set that aside. And just taking a look at that and seeing if I want to do anything. Now you can always go in and manipulate your paint puddles if you want to. Normally I don't do too much of that with, straight pours or waterfall pours, things like that. But we could do that with our flip and drag if we want to. I'm just thinking about it. I'm not quite sure if I want to or not. I think I'll just leave it for now. So let's go ahead and do a little tilting. And I'm going to do this kind of carefully. I just want to see what happens when I move these around together. And I'm just expanding my paint puddles out. And just want to kind of see how the paint is moving together as I move it around here. And then this can be this is one of the parts that makes it challenging, is trying to now incorporate these two pretty separate, paint puddles together to try to make something interesting. So we've expanded that. I'm just kind of taking a look and seeing what I want to tilt off first. I think I'm going to go down here first and tilt off this corner first. Now, the other thing we need to think about is we have a lot of cool stuff happening up here. This is a little more plain. We got these big cells popping up, which I don't know if I'm super thrilled with. But we want to kind of try to merge these together. But what we don't want is have like a 50-50 painting. So like this is 50%, this is 50%. One of these we want to have take precedence and be the dominant kind of shape. Then the other one kind of the, secondary set of shapes. I'm going to tilt off of this corner first. I'm still thinking about that. I'll be thinking about that throughout the whole kind of tilting process. I'm going to this top corner next. I'm kind of moving the paint quickly up there. So right off the bat, I'm not loving these big cells. They're pretty ugly. So I think I'm going to tilt off some of those. I'm going to make the waterfall pour kind of the dominant shape. So we've kind of tilted off the entire kind of flip and drag puddle, but I really didn't like it at all. And that's just kind of part of how you have to approach these. They're all kind of experiments. So I'll show you what we've got. Now we've pretty much, it looks like just a kind of standard waterfall pour, because we've kind of tilted off a lot of, most of our flip and drag. But I'm going to continue to tilt this a little bit more, because I do like these interesting shapes we have over here. Oops. I put a little drop in there, but so I still like some of the things that are happening. So I'm going to kind of continue to tilt and see if I can make it a little bit cooler. So what I'm going to do is just kind of hold it up. Do some kind of vertical tilting here. Keep just moving the paint around. Okay, I'm going to tilt back the other way here for just a minute. All right, so there we go. I think I'm going to call that completed. I'm going to stop tilting around on it. I kind of like a lot of things about it. Now, it doesn't look so much like a multi-technique pour, but that's really what you want to have happen at the end of the day. We're not going to be telling anyone what techniques we did to put these together, aside from, us in our little group here, but someone looking at a painting like this, you want them to think, oh my gosh, how did that happen? Or how did they do that? You don't want them to just say, oh, that's a ring pour and a flip cup, or, a waterfall pour and a flip and drag. You don't want that. That's not the reaction you want. You want these to be unique, interesting paintings that, these techniques kind of seamlessly merge together. Now, we know that what we did here, but, we don't want the painting to give that all away. So that's one of the biggest challenges with a multi-technique pour like this, is kind of incorporating those two techniques together to kind of make them seamless, but giving you, multiple different effects, and give more like a different dimension to your paintings. That's a challenge. And so that's why these are a little more tricky and difficult to do, but they are fun to try, and it expands your knowledge, and it kind of helps you problem solve a little bit, and it just gets you thinking outside the box. This one didn't turn out what I was hoping for. Of course, they never do. I was hoping we'd have a little bit more. I was hoping we'd have some cool cells, and then kind of mingled in with our crazy rings from our waterfall pour, but those cells I hated. So that right there, didn't work. So I thought, let's get rid of them. And at the end of the day, you're just trying to make a very cool painting. So that's the big goal. So always keep that in mind. You're looking to make a big painting, and or a good painting, not a big painting. Did I say big painting? I don't know. So I have too many thoughts going on in my head. But this is actually kind of a cool painting, I think. So let's see here. Just checking to see if there are any questions. And Carla is asking, how do you like the Craftsmart white? Well, I don't really like it too much right now because it gave me a bunch of terrible looking cells. But I've used it many times in the past, and I quite like it. It does some cool stuff. But I guess you never quite know. But I didn't like those cells at all. So I'm not quite sure what to say. It's worth giving it a try, though. Trying these different types of whites. It doesn't do all the cloudiness, so that's a plus. I probably prefer the DecoArt Americana to that Craftsmart, but I've used them both, and they both have worked well and done good things, but then they've also done some weird things. So I guess the jury's still out on finding a brand new white. So, all right, so let's see here. And Donna said, it's a shame the flip cut tilted off, but I like that there's still certain areas of it. Yes, that's kind of, it's not what you're going for, really. You're just, the big goal is trying to, have these two different techniques merged together to create like a, both creating something better than each individually. But, you never quite, you try to do that any way you can. So sometimes you got to tilt off a lot of one of them. So there's no great game plan really for this is how you do it every single time. Every time is a little bit different. So, but yes, I do like that we have these interesting areas over here. And we know that how those are created, but someone else looking at this would not really know, because you can't really create that with kind of the standard waterfall pour. But so anyway, that's kind of the technique, or kind of what we're going after. Combining two techniques together, trying to get them to kind of coexist in the same composition and creating something unique and different. And that's what we're going to be exploring this month. I'm going to flip this around and just see what it looks like. And again, not always easy to do, but when you can do it, the results can be very, very cool. So I'm still, I kind of like it that way. I don't know. So, all right, let's see here. And let's see. Lily is asking, have you used the Nova Color Payne's Gray? I saw an artist using it. She said it's beautiful. Yes, I have used the Nova Color Payne's Gray. It is a very pretty version of the Payne's Gray. I'm sure I have some left around here. The Payne's Gray there's a lot of different variations of it. Every brand is a little bit different. I think my favorite so far is the Liquitex Basics Payne's Gray. I use that probably more than the other ones. I love that Payne's Gray. The Amsterdam Payne's Gray is great too. That one's a little bit darker than the Liquitex Payne's Gray. The Nova Color, I can't recall exactly kind of where that falls in the spectrum, but it is a very pretty Payne's Gray. I've used Creative, what is it called? Creative Touch or something? That's Creative Mark, that's it. Creative Mark is much more on the blue side of the Payne's Gray. I'm not thrilled with that one, but it is still kind of a interesting blue, deep blue color. And then the Master's Touch is also kind of a nice Payne's Gray to work with. I'd say my favorites probably Liquitex Basics and Amsterdam. Those are my two favorites. But yeah, the Nova Color one is good as well. I wouldn't say it's like amazing. It's like, the best Payne's Gray in the world, but it is a fun paint to play with. And I like the Nova Color paints a lot. They're a little bit on the thinner consistency, which is nice. You don't have to mix in so much water with them. You do have to order them and you have to pay for shipping, which is a drawback. So, but it's a fun paint to work with. And Carla said, yes, Creative Inspiration. That's the one. I don't really use a lot of their paints. I find their paints to be a little lower quality than some of the other brands. So I don't use a ton of them, but I have used them in the past and I like some of their colors. So, and you're very welcome, Lily. Let's see here. So any questions? Let me flip back here. Any questions about the multi-technique or what we're going to be doing this month that you might have? And let me know in the comments. And again, these are a little bit more tricky, a little more difficult. We're cramming multiple things into one canvas and trying to get it all to work. That can be a challenge to do, but we're going to give it a shot this month, and they are pretty fun when you can get them working together. So next week we're going to do 2 demos. I'll do 2 different types of multi-technique pours. I'll show you what a ribbon pour is. We'll work with a ribbon pour and something else, and I haven't decided exactly which 2 I'm going to do, which 2 demos. But yeah, it'll be fun next week. And then Donna is asking or saying, We have to pay for shipping for just about everything we need. I wish we had as many shops to pop like in the US. Yeah, it can be a challenge depending on where you live to get supplies. So all right. And Judy likes the technique. Thanks, Judy. Love the multi-technique pours. Fantastic. Yeah, thank you. It'll be fun. It'll be a fun month of playing around with different types of pours, putting them together, see what we can get. But these can be very, very, well, I'm trying to think of the right word. I don't want to oversell them because they can be very frustrating when they don't work. But it is worth trying them out and seeing if you can kind of, fit the pieces together, I would say. So, but we're going to give it our best, and it should be a whole lot of fun. So, well, thanks everybody for joining me. I hope you looking forward to some multi-technique demos this month, and will want to give them a try. Think about doing a monochromatic pour and playing around with the color family that you'd like. And we will see you Friday for another demo. I probably won't do a multi-technique demo, but kind of a standard Friday demo. So until then, I will talk to you all later. Take care, everyone, and have a great rest of your week. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.